Hey, our guest for this morning is Makinde Adeniran FTA, an award-winning dramatist who has practiced theatre almost everywhere that you can think of in the world. He is also a chairman, National Association of Nigerian Theatre Arts Practitioners, and it's so good to have you here with us, sir.
Yeah.
Nice to have you, and what a head of hair you have on there.
Thank you.
I hope mine gets to be that full and that color. Well, it's good to have you here. Now, you are a thespian, you're a director, you're all about theatre.
Yeah.
But first of all, we mentioned a little title at the end of your name. What does the meaning of FTA? What does that mean?
FTA is a Fellow of Theatre Arts.
Fellow of Theatre Arts.
Yes, that's the highest honor for the association now, NANTAP. Okay. That's the highest honor.
NANTAP, that's the National Association of Nigerian
Theatre Arts Practitioners, of which I'm the chairman for the state.
Okay, great,
yes.
Nice. How long have you been doing theatre? Let's start with that first off.
Well, going to my 35 years.
35 years.
Yes.
Here in Nigeria and everywhere else.
Everywhere.
Yep. I have two questions. First off, what has it been like in Nigeria? How has it, panned through the decades in Nigeria? And how can you compare that with what it's like outside of Nigeria?
Well, it has been struggling all the years. It's been struggling, and the struggling is as a result of the education of it, one, the practice of it, the policy of it, and the governance of it generally. And this has to do with both the practitioners, right, the educators, and the government. So it's been struggling over the years. I mean, minus COVID. COVID is a leveler. Has leveled all kinds of economies across the world. Yeah. But aside that, theatre, arts generally, has been struggling. Even Nollywood, that is seen to be, the bride, is equally struggling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, you don't need to tell me about that. That's actually quite obvious, especially in the times that we find ourselves. But now, if we now impute that into the grand scheme of things for theatre, where do you see it going with everything that we're going through, how we're adapting a new normal and all of that with this present pandemic?
It is a reality that we can't do away with. An average Nigerian is a creative person, and they are always looking for where to practice that. So it's coming on fine. There's this swell, that it's coming on fine because we are gradually shaping into it. All of the things I mentioned earlier about the governance, the education, it's improving. Whether the government is responding to it or not, because it's almost like tradition now. We know you study it as a course in school, you get out. Some, they look for other way to earn salary, and but there are people, some chunk, 20% of those who left the university after study, they are still practicing. And that is the group of people that you see in Nollywood.
Yeah.
They, without anything, without any kind of support from anywhere, because at some point it became a tradition for them. They yearned, the passion, they left from school. They wanted to do something. So Nollywood came out of that. The same thing is with theatre. It's not as if, apart from Jaws, and in those days, there was nowhere in Nigeria where you find film school. So almost all of us, the first listing, 70% of us who are big guys in Nollywood and all of that, first and foremost, they study theatre arts.
Theatre arts, wow. Interesting. Now, it's a very interesting medium because if you go back in history, 17th, 18th century, theatre was the one medium where you could actually amass a group of people and then send forth some kind of information, whatever it was, whether political or social or so. In Nigeria here, you could say that it was so in the earlier times of theatre and all. Is that the same currently? And does the government still use it as a tool for disseminating information like they used to when I was a kid? Because I remember going to the National Theatre and somewhere in there you get pieces of information that they want to pass across. Is that still a thing?
I think it all has to do, I cannot say is the same because people in government, policy execution and all of that, they have different changes over the time. But one thing I can tell you is that the practitioner, the amount of practitioners involved now, the amount of enthusiasm involved now, right? It's more than in those days. In those days, they were little, there was precise, you can almost tell. Yeah. Now that we have people graduating from universities across Nigeria coming out to practice and 20% practicing, obviously we have more people.
Yeah.
It's swelling. But one thing that has not been the same again is the policy execution of all of these things. Are we in government, are we recognizing that that in itself, apart from all social relevance, is in itself has ability for commercial purposes?
Now,
So those policies are not helping in any way to break it down or for it to become an important aspect of our business. So that one is where we are falling.
Now, as the chairman of the National Association of Nigerian Theatre Arts Practitioners, let me ask you this question about the current state of infrastructure when it comes to theatre in Nigeria. Growing up in the early 80s, yeah, I'm that old. It was a beautiful thing to hear that your parents are taking you to the National Theatre. But these days, these infrastructure are pretty much no longer being taken care of that much. I remember 2 weeks ago I was at the National Theatre and I had this big slap of nostalgia of the plenty dramas and series that I had seen there from over 30 years ago. But now I don't know if our kids would have that same feeling. What do you think about the state of infrastructure for theatre in Nigeria?
It's poor, but a lot. It was what I was attempting to say the other time about policy, because policy is what eventually becomes money. It's what eventually aids social living of every country. Presently, it's poor, very poor.
It should gain, it should help the government actually get some money. I mean, it should remit into the coffers of the government. So if that's a means of getting earnings, why isn't it being attended to like it should?
Because we have people, largely we have people in government who does not even understand the trade. And they are not opening up in any way to say they don't understand and get people who can help them. At the most, if they want to get people right, they get the ones who are hypocrites amongst us. So at the end of the day, you find them running around the circle, nothing is being done. You hear this today, you hear that tomorrow. At the end of the day, it's all about papers. Nothing comes up. Until we get to that point, and we collectively, both from the practitioner's point of view and from the government point of view, that as long as we have as long as you have people, children going to the university to study this thing, there must be a life in it. And we study it, we make research, and we begin from there. We pull out all kinds of things, the commercial angle, the social angle, and make benefit for the country. Until we do that, and sincerely too, because we have a whole lot of them that will come around, be it governor, be it commissioner and all of that. They say all kinds of things. We sit in all kinds of committee and then papers come out, but there's no point to execution. So we all need that understanding. I'm not in any way sitting here and trying to heap all the blames on government. No. Government only operates, right, when the sector is in itself fine. I'm even putting the blame on those of us who are practicing. But things are moving. It's a gradual thing. I know it will roll over.
Definitely.
Unfortunately, right, we are not running at the speed that we are supposed to be running.
Well, Mr. Makinde, thank you
around.
very much. It's actually an honor to have you sitting down here. Such wealth of knowledge and profession that we have here sitting on our couch with us today. And, well, we're looking forward to, well, this becoming what the beauty that it used to be. And, of course, with you in places that you need to be at, we are sure that we're going to get there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we look forward to plenty of your works in future.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for joining us for this segment. We still have more coming your way this morning. Of course, we're not done yet inside the kitchen. In fact, we only just got started. Talk about what's happening in there, please.